In a television studio, shows Phil Hartman and Norm Macdonald sitting in chairs. Hartman: Hello, I'm Hill Fartman, and welcome to our 14th installment of SNL's Crazy Critics, where one of our eccentric critics critiques the latest SNL episode. Mercifully, we are no longer being hijacked by the show's producer, Mr. Joe King, and instead we have here with us Norm Macdonald. Macdonald: Great to be here, Fartman, you know. It's a show I used to be on, so I have a little more knowledge about it than these other critics. Hartman: Fabulous. What did you think of the cold open? Macdonald: Well, I like the cold open, Hill. It had Mikey, Heidi, and Bowen portraying Fox and Friends anchors, and James portraying Mike Lindell, with the four of them talking about the lawsuit where Dominion Voting Systems is being sued by Fox News for stealing the election. Hartman: Actually, Norm, Dominion is suing Fox News. Macdonald: What? For what? Hartman: For knowing that Trump's election claims were false and putting it on the news anyway. Macdonald: Oh, wow. How did they know that Trump's claims were false? Hartman: Because Sean Hannity texted that Rudy Giuliani is insane. Macdonald: Oh, well, we all know Giuliani's insane. He thought 9/11 was done by foreign terrorists. Hartman: Norm, please, no conspiracy theories here that are falsely claimed without evidence. Macdonald: Okay, very well. But my favorite part of the cold open was that Keenan portrayed O.J. Simpson, the guy who got me fired by murdering his wife and creating the biggest trial of my lifetime that I wasn't allowed to talk about. Hartman: At this point, I almost wish we had King here instead, finding secret messages. What did you think of the host, Travis Kelce's monologue? Macdonald: Well, it was bittersweet, you know. While Travis was on my fantasy team, the Fudge Packers, I did bet on the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, and therefore Travis helped me lose some money. But he did a great job in the monologue and throughout the rest of the show. And I liked how he said he used to like watching Farrell, Sandman, and Farley on SNL growing up. I guess back in the day, he'd fall asleep before Weekend Update was on. Hartman: Well, all he missed was gratuitous O.J. jokes. What did you think of the first sketch after the monologue, American Girl Cafe? Macdonald: Well, I enjoyed the premise of a big, tough guy like Travis and an American Girl Cafe by himself with his dolls, and them all making sure he didn't have a heart-on. And Kelsey turning the dolls' heads to look at a boy doll was pretty funny. And I like Devin thinking it was Sarah who was the problem. A very funny sketch. The bastard still cost me money at the Super Bowl, but a funny sketch nonetheless. Hartman: What did you think of the Please Don't Destroy video, Self-Defense? Macdonald: I loved it, you know. I was friends with Tim, Harley, and Steve Higgins, so I'm happy to see their issue doing so well and being funny. And I like seeing Travis knock the shit out of John and Ben, and then Martin getting blocked by the old lady, who then played Russian roulette. It was great stuff. Please don't destroy the copy of this one, am I right? Hartman: How about the next sketch, The Funeral? Macdonald: Well, Kelsey was very funny again, as he was throughout, but I gotta hand it to Ego. Hartman: You mean Ego. Macdonald: No, Fartman, pretty sure it's Ego. Anyway, she's really been doing a fabulous job lately. I love the sketch of her cutting the steak a couple weeks ago. And she did a great job here as the old dead lady, sitting still there until they pulled the cord behind her. It was pretty wacky, which I appreciate. I just hope she doesn't go on an ego trip with all of her success. Am I right? Hartman. Anyway, McDonald, did you get the joke there? Ego with her name? Hartman. Just don't bring up any moths going into podiatrist offices. What did you think of the straight male friend video? McDonald. No, now, wait a minute. Did you understand the last joke? I didn't want her to get a big ego. And her name's Ego. Hartman. It's ego. How about the video? McDonald. Well, I thought it was very funny, and I suppose it was quite illuminating to see how us straight males are perceived by our gay counterparts. I guess we're just pieces of meat to those gay men, devoid of all emotion and substance. Just a big old piece of meat for them to suck on. Hartman. Wow. How about the next sketch with Heidi as the ex-girlfriend? McDonald. Correction, Farben. She really wasn't an ex-girlfriend, as Travis explained. They only went on one date. Hartman. That's the joke, Norm. McDonald. Oh, right. Anyway, in that case, it was a very funny premise, and I really admire Heidi's acting chops. I swear I could see her tears just flying all over the place. I couldn't believe it. Hartman. I believe they were using fake tears to comically accentuate her crying. McDonald. Jesus, Fartman. Probably like going up to little kids and telling them Santa Claus isn't real. Hartman. I have to admit that is one of my guilty pleasures. Anyway, what did you think of Kelsey Ballerini's performance? McDonald. She did great, you know. I liked her pants with all the holes in them. And the song was great, too. Very uplifting. Hartman. It's actually quite a sad song. McDonald. Okay, Fartman. The Easter Bunny is also not real. Jeez Louise. Hartman. What did you think of Weekend Update? McDonald. I was once on Weekend Update. Once upon a time. Hartman. We know, Norm. McDonald. Okay, great. Just making sure. Hartman. Anyway, what did you think of the most recent iteration of the segment you once were on? McDonald. Well, it was very funny as always. Jill Biden provides good balance to Joe by telling him to hold on to the railing. Alex Murdaugh found guilty of looking like Will Ferrell dressed as Conan O'Brien. And I loved Michael Longfellow as Dilbert. Michael reminds me of me. Dry humor, good looking, and chock full of cancer. Hartman. What? McDonald. I just mean that he was dressed as Dilbert, whose creator's thoughts on race are cancerous. I'm not suggesting that Michael also has cancer, yet. And I also liked when Mikey Day came out with Queen Latifah. And Queen Latifah didn't know who any of those other celebs were. That was very funny. Hartman. That wasn't Queen Latifah, Norm. That was SNL's Punky Johnson. McDonald. Huh? Who? Hartman. Well, I'm sure she thinks you're Kevin Nealon. Anyway, what did you think of Sarah Sherman's segment on Weekend Update? McDonald. Well, I loved it, you know. Her previous segments with Colin on Weekend Update have been tremendous. And this one was as well. I appreciate her lifting the veil on the pedophile and weight-obsessed monster that Colin is. Hartman. Those jokes are tongue-in-cheek, as Colin is an exceedingly nice guy. McDonald. Well, that hasn't been my experience. Anyway, I love the joke Sarah has about her vagina being the driest place on earth, only to be flooded by Peter Falk of Colombo. What can I say? Those jokes got me hard as a rock. As McDonald punches at his crotch, Hartman says, "Good God, Anyway, what were your thoughts on the next sketch, The Family Meeting? McDonald. Well, this one was funny, but sort of peculiar. My rock-hard erection immediately became confused as the sketch's premise was Ego being married to James, but banging Travis Kelce on the side, and James and Ego telling their kids about it. My erection didn't know which way to go with this one. Hartman. Again, it's ego, and please, can we continue your critique without reference to your state of arousal? McDonald. We shall see. Hartman. How about the next sketch, Garrett from Hinge? McDonald. Yes. My erection stayed confused during this sketch, as the term throuple was used once again, with Heidi in bed with Travis, only to be interrupted by Bowen as a date from Hinge who Heidi blew off. Not literally as in a blowjob, but as in she didn't go to the date with Garrett at Bucacino's. But despite my boner not knowing whether to stay excited or lay dormant, I thought Bowen did a tremendous job in this sketch as a psychopath from a dating site. He was hilarious, telling himself in the mirror that he couldn't kill them. And the Stewie Griffin shirt was a very nice touch. Hartman. Okay, and Kelsey Ballerini's next performance. McDonald. Well, I finally got rid of my boner by rubbing one out during the song. Hartman. Good God. Moving on, how about the final sketch of the evening, Too Hot to Handle? McDonald. Well, I was in a very relaxed mood for this sketch. I thought it was very funny. I have a feeling that parts of it may have been cut for time, but it was a great showcase for Chloe to play a crazy psycho, and she did a tremendous job as such. I'd like to see more of Glenn. And Dead from the Earth, We're Not Alive. It's Saturday Not Alive, starring John Belushi, Chris Farley, Phil Hartman, Jen Hooks, Norm Macdonald, Gilda Radner, Danitra Vance, and with many other special deceased contributors. Musical guest, Dave Jolicoeur, and your host, Nicole Brown. Everybody, Nicole Brown. Applause, applause, applause. Brown. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I've been on this show several times already. First as Norm Macdonald's love interest, then John Belushi's, and finally Phil Hartman. I'm best known for being the victim of murder on June 12, 1994, which led to one of the most famous trials in history. And once and for all, I'm going to clear the record. As much fun as I had with Johnny and then with Phil, my true love is definitely Norm Macdonald. Hartman comes out and says, Nicole, are you kidding me? What about all the great times we've had? Brown. Well, Phil, as much as we have in common, it just didn't work. I need Norm in my afterlife. Norm Macdonald comes out and says, now wait just a minute. You dumped me a while ago, and now you're saying I'm your true love? Brown. That's right. Can you forgive me? McDonald. You know what? No, I can't. The break was just too much. Brown. Okay, how about you, Phil? Hartman. No way. Brown. Well, how about John then? John Belushi comes out, puts his arms around McDonald and Hartman and says, no way, Nicole. Bros before hoes. Brown. Wow, okay, I guess I'll go with Ron Goldman then, at least until OJ gets up here. Anyway, we have a great show tonight. Dave Jolicoeur of De La Soul is here. So get ready for me, myself, and I. We'll be right back.